Travel in fiction doesn't have to be boring. I know, it sounds revolutionary after all the bitching we've done about Tolkien describing every blade of grass as the Fellowship troops across the misty mountains and wherever else they were. But if you turn your gaze to science fiction, a whole new vista opens up. A world where traversing space is not just a means of cool world building, but is actually a way to drive your plot and cement the themes that you are playing with in your world. And that is what I want to talk about today. Welcome to another episode of Science Fantasy World Building from Just in Time Worlds, where we build what we need when we need it. I am your guide, Marie Mullaney, and this episode is brought to you by the awesome members of my channel who are the drivers of my plot in this endeavor. If you'd like to join them, check out the join button down below. Okay, let's get cracking with cool world building for faster than light travel in science fiction and fantasy. Let's start with near light speed travel, commonly explored in hard science fiction. While intriguing, this demands a deep dive into scientific plausibility, which is outside of the focus of this series. For those interested in the scientific feasibility of FTL travel, Sabine Hossefelder's channel offers excellent insights on this, and I recommend you watch her videos. But for the purpose of this channel's exploration of the topic, I'm going to look at more fantastical but still science-based solutions. In science fantasy, and in some science fictions, we often encounter the concept of hyperdrive, overdrive, or traversing quantum space. These imaginative solutions allow spacecraft to circumvent the traditional limitations of space, like light speed barrier. Such methods involve accessing alternate dimensions or bending the rules of physics. So let's take a look at some pertinent examples in Flying Ships, Pure Technology as a Method. There's a reason I opened this with Picard. Star Trek uniquely approaches FTL travel. It doesn't use an alternate space, but rather warps space-time around the ship, creating a bubble that allows faster-than-light movement without technically moving through space. The ship is still controlled and piloted by the human crew. Conversely, Star Wars introduces the concept of the hyperdrive, which propels the ship into alternate dimension, facilitating rapid travel across the galaxy. But this method relies on sophisticated navigation systems and astromech droids for calculations. So now you're setting up needing AI to pilot the ship. And then there's Babylon 5's approach. So in Babylon 5, hyperspace is very dangerous to navigate and you can be attacked in hyperspace. But even entering hyperspace involves a complex operation. This requires a ship to have a built-in jump engine so it can create its own jump gate, or you need to use a fixed jump gate in space that you might need to pay a toll for in order to enter hyperspace. These jump gates form the core of the trade networks of Babylon 5, and it is a great use of faster-than-light technology in order to control how trade and economics happens and to create conflicts in those areas. In addition, the jump gates are also an artifact of an ancient civilizations. Now, we'll talk about other examples of this when we get to teleportation, but here I just want to talk about how Babylon 5 approached this ancient civilization. The jump gates were found by the Minbari and the Centauri when they started exploring space, but no one knows who built them. It's never explained in the lore. So they were built by this unknown race and then basically reverse engineered by the Minbari and the Centauri. And once they'd figured out the tech, the gates could be built by other races. So, in your own world, you can put in place these technological devices that are remnants of an ancient civilization. Science fantasy really allows you to play with these concepts because you have multiple worlds available to you. There could have been a civilization that once ruled the galaxy and is now gone because of some apocalyptic reason. And they left behind these technological artifacts that your younger civilizations can co opt and learn from and build into their own technology. Okay, but back to ships and travel in space with science means. So, what does this model mean for your world? Well, the first question you've got to ask is how perilous is it in alternate space? Can ships be intercepted or attacked? If space is safe, FTL travel becomes straightforward a point A to point B journey. Star Trek and Star Wars generally depict uneventful FTL journeys, focusing on destinations rather than travel, but they do still have the space travel aspect of it. Babylon 5, however, introduces conflict and danger within its version of FTL space, adding a layer of complexity to space travel in addition to the jump gates, which have this effect on trade and economics. So these are questions that you should answer if you're going for the straight ship solution. How hard is space to navigate? Can humans pilot these FTL ships, or do you need AI assistance? In Star Wars, you do need AI assistance, but in Babylon 5, you can use human navigation, but you have the jump drive complexity. So it's a question of how complex you want to make it for travel to happen in these worlds. If your story requires simple, unobstructed travel, opt for a safe and navigable FTL model like Star Wars' Hyperdrive or Star Trek's Warp Drive. But if you want to put more focus on FTL, you want FTL to be somewhat hazardous, or you want economic control of travel to play a key role, consider a model similar to Babylon 5, where FTL space itself is a setting for conflict and adventure. If you don't want that kind of travel to impact your trade and economics, don't use things like jump gates. But if you do, it is a really good way to control getting into hyperspace in these trade networks where you can have control of jump gates that is setting up these networks that allow you to explore these concepts. And I will talk more about that in a future video, so subscribe if you're interested in that topic. So that's using a ship and technology, and if you enjoyed this segment, hit the thumbs up button, and let's explore the concept of instantaneous point-to-point travel, another fascinating facet about FTL in science fantasy worlds. So in this section, we're going to talk about straight teleportation. And this is a great alternative to traditional space travel because it allows you to skip the walking, as it were. In this case, skip the boring spaceship travel. So I'm going to start with Stargate. Of course, I'm going to talk about Stargate. What did you think I was going to talk about? So, Stargate offers a unique approach to interstellar travel. It features a network of stargates, ancient devices that enable instantaneous travel between worlds. These stargates are relics of a lost civilization and they are fixed in number. New ones can't be created, although existing ones can be relocated. Now, to travel, you need to input a destination address into a stargate, connecting it to a corresponding gate on another world. This system abstracts away the complexities of space travel, focusing instead on the worlds and the cultures at each end of the journey. This model is ideal if your story's emphasis is on exploring diverse cultures and planetary environments, with space travel itself taking a back seat. Challenges in the system arise from elements like missing a dial home device or having the incorrect address, and this, of course, can add intrigue and limitations to your travel. Now, on the other hand, Farscape introduces starburst as a method of rapid, one-dimensional space travel. However, it is inherently risky due to the unpredictable exit vectors, making it a last resort option for emergencies in Farscape. And Farscape also features wormhole travel, which of course famously propels the protagonist, John Crichton, across the universe. The show ties wormholes to an ancient race. The ancients who developed this technology left behind knowledge for a worthy successor. And look, speaking of ancient races often serve as the originators of advanced FTL technologies in science fantasy. We saw it with the jump gates, we saw it in Farscape, we saw it in Stargate. The reason for this is ancient races provide a convenient way to introduce complex technologies like jump gates, teleportation networks, or wormholes without requiring current civilizations to fully comprehend or control them. So in Farscape, John Crichton's arc revolves around unraveling the secrets of wormhole technology implanted in his mind by the ancients. And this highlights the narrative potential of such a setup of unraveling this strange science. This kind of race allows you to have science that your people don't understand, which also gives you access to Clarke's law, and let's say it together now, sufficiently advanced magic, yep, is indistinguishable from technology. So, what does this kind of teleportation mean for your world? When should you use it? So, whether it's Stargate's network of interlinked devices or Farscape's riskiest starburst and wormhole travel, teleportation type FTL allows for swift transitions between locations, bypassing the journey aspect. However, it still presents ample narrative opportunities through challenges and limitations inherent in controlling and navigating these systems. So your challenges lie before and after travel, not in the travel itself. This approach is perfect for stories more focused on world exploration and less on the mechanics of space travel. And if you like this exploration of teleportation, hit that thumbs up button, and let's talk about blending magic and technology. Imagine a universe where hyperspace travel typically requires AI or an astromech droid or something like that for navigation. However, due to a war against artificial intelligence, these technologies are no longer viable. What alternatives exist? Dune presents a solution through the use of spice navigators. These are metahumans who, consuming the spice melange, gain the ability to perform the complex calculations and heightened perception necessary for space folding. This method of travel involves folding space to move ships, but it also leads to mutation, addiction, and other complications in the navigators, as depicted in the novels and in the on-screen adaptations. Warhammer 40k offers another unique take on magical space travel. Here, navigators are mutated humans with the ability to see into the warp, an alternate dimension used for space travel. Unlike Dune, where spice enhances human abilities, Warhammer 40k relies almost purely on magic. The Emperor is a pivotal figure in this. He projects his consciousness into the warp, serving as a beacon for navigators and astropaths. This setup illustrates a complex interplay between magic, mutation, because your navigators are mutated, and space travel. This integrates magic and it centralizes control of space travel on individuals or organization, such as the Guild of Spice Navigators or the Navigator Houses in Warhammer 40k. This means that space travel is restricted to those with access to magic. And this can create intriguing conflict scenarios where power is concentrated and can be wielded for various ends, be it politics, trades, or warfare. So by attributing space travel capabilities to magic and individuals skilled in it, your stories can focus on struggle for control, the maintenance of power, or attempts to overthrow the status quo of space travel, as I also discussed in my Magic in Space episode. Magic makes space travel personal to the mage, and that shifts the narrative of space travel away from the technology to the control of individual or a group. And this approach brings space travel back to the hands of those specific characters and opens up rich storytelling possibilities, focusing on wielders of magical power either as your antagonist or your protagonist. So, which one of these models should you pick for your world? Pick machine-driven travel if you want everyone to have access to space travel, but if you want to have some complex trade networks, consider making the technology necessary to enter FTL space hard to put onto a ship. A great example of this is Babylon 5's jump gates. Pick teleportation travel if you want to focus less on travel and more on cultures and planets. And pick magic if you want control of space travel to be a conflict point in the story. And don't forget about ancient races and the role that they can play in your narrative. Maybe they undermine your magic space travel by providing a technology solution. Maybe there are wars fought over stargates. Maybe their tech is reverse engineered and jealously guarded. Whatever you do with your ancient races, remember that in space, the technology of the ancients is always an option. This video has been available to members of my channel of the Build It in Wood level for over a month now. If you would like to have early access to my videos and support me in making more videos, consider joining the channel for as little as $3 a month and getting exclusive videos and early access to most of my content. For $7, you can get access to all of my content. And a special shout out to my latest Build It in Wood member, Quentin, and all of the members of my channel on screen now. But don't feel pressured to support the channel financially. A great way to support the channel completely free is by simply watching another video. Since you like this video, I would recommend checking out my video on fantasy travel options, which is in the card here. Or you could trust the algorithm and the video that they recommend on the other side. All hail our AI overlords. And I will see you soon for another episode of Just in Time Worlds.